Hello and welcome to the AJ Bell webinar with Sale Sharks. I'm Mark Cueto. I start off by saying a big thank you to AJ Bell for their continued support and making this webinar happen. We've got three players from Sale here today. We're going to have a chat with them about the effects of COVID. We're all having to deal with it. Let's see how they've dealt with it and how it's affected their day-to-day training schedule and life. So I'll pass you over to the boys to introduce themselves.
Hello, I'm Josh Beaumont, play second row at Sale Sharks, and I've been at the club now for the past 8 seasons.
I'm Sam Hill, I'm a centre, and I've been here about 4 months.
Hi, I'm Marlon Yard. I'm a winger for Sale Sharks, and I've been here for 3 years.
I'm Mark Cueto, played for Sale Sharks for 15 years, retired 5 years ago, and now commercial director of the club. Right, lads, we'll get straight into it. First question, I guess, is obviously we're in funny times with COVID and everything that brings. I suppose if we have a look back to maybe March, April, 6-7 months ago when it all kicked off effectively, how did it affect sort of training and your sort of day-to-day schedule initially, Josh?
Yeah, it was quite tough for me just because I was in the middle part of my knee rehab. Had surgery back in November and January, so I was kind of gearing up to try and get back fit for the end of the season. And then obviously being isolated away from the club, away from the gym, it was a bit of a strange time. It was quite a nice novelty for the first week. To, we got given a load of gym equipment to go home, work out from home. But then when you're kind of doing that in the same 4 walls, you're watching TV and doing everything else, it kind of got a bit frustrated after a while, and probably wasn't able to advance my rehab as I wanted to. And yeah, that was a kind of main frustration for me. But it was nice to stay as active as you could, but you just missed being around the lads and getting access to physios and just your general routine, really.
Yeah, and for you, Yardy, how long from that initial sort of meeting? I know we all met as a club effectively, and everyone was sent home for I think 2 weeks initially. I think none of us knew that it would have an effect on us like it's had such an effect. So how long did you guys have away from the club before you were allowed to sort of come back in and start that sort of phase 1 training?
I believe it was about 2.5 months, I think. So I think we got back in in June. So we stopped in March. Yeah, it was like Josh sort of said, it was a difficult time at the start. I think everyone kind of was getting to the swing of things. I think as a team we were very successful for the first 6 months. We were in a good position in the league. So I think for us we wanted continuity. We wanted to keep on going. We wanted success, and it came at a really bad time for us. But I think on a personal level, I think it was great to. We never usually have these sort of lengthy breaks within sport. I think over the last 10 years of playing, I don't think we've ever had more than 4 to 5 weeks off. So it was great to actually have that much time to allow your body to heal, recover, and we can also work on personal things that you wanted to work on or rectify that is probably a bit more difficult as you go on throughout the season. So for me, I found it was great. It was great to sort of train and be around family and just enjoy that sort of novelty of not knowing when we are going to restart, but still keeping fit and keeping active.
And for you, Sam, I suppose there's a bit more than you had a bit more going on than most players. Obviously, moving from Exeter to Sale, and that was during that lockdown sort of period, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I signed must have been a month before the lockdown started. So went into lockdown, sort of thinking it'd be a few weeks, and then we'd come back into it, and I'd be playing for Exeter still, finishing off the season there, and then obviously it kind of dragged on for a few months, and ended up not coming back till I got told from Chiefs that obviously my contract would be done, so I'd be going to Sale for June, but I actually didn't come here till I think it was the end of July or mid-July, so it was a long time off, just sort of training by myself, and yeah, it was a real strange time to be fair.
And how have you settled in? I suppose July. So you've been here for what, three or 4 months? How have those first few months been?
Yeah, it's been good. I'm living in the city now, so it's a bit different to what we used to. Really enjoying it. Obviously, it's a bit weird being right in here when everything's shut, but I've still like experienced a bit of the bars and restaurants been open for a bit, and it was good to experience that. But I'm just looking forward to hopefully some normality soon with it all. But I'm enjoying it and settling well.
Good. And I guess this sort of goes to you all really. You're back in training. You're playing sort of games regularly. Everything's sort of returned to semi normality, but looking at the changes around the training ground and the adaptations that we've all had to sort of make, can you maybe share some of those sort of day-to-day changes that you've had to make to your training and your schedule off the back of COVID and following the regs? Josh, go on.
I think when we came back in those, as you said earlier, those phases or stages of return to play. So it's quite strange at the first phase one where you came back in and we're only in small groups. I think that was for probably about between 1 or 2 months doing that. So you didn't really get to see many of the lads bar kind of the 10 players who you're in with, and then obviously moving forward now into certain elements of training outside, you've still got to maintain social distance, and there's certain rules in terms of standing away from each other in huddles, which is quite strange. It's all kind of stuff that is the norm now, but it probably took kind of the players a while to adapt and to get used to that. This is the new normal now. So yeah, it was strange, but you kind of picked it up after a while and got used to it.
And just, I know, sort of traveling to games and things like that's obviously totally changed. Rather than all traveling together, there's 2 coaches that you travel separately on, etc. So how have those sort of changes affected you, if anything, Yardi?
Oh, I think it was. I think obviously, like Josh said, I think it was quite difficult at the start in terms of getting our heads around it and just sort of sticking to it as best as we could. But I think it was more about just adapting and sort of familiarizing ourselves with the new rules. The sooner we could do that, the better we can crack on. I think currently we're in a stage where we've all been through it now for quite a few months, so it's the new norm, and it's something that we have to just sort of take on the chin and just adjust and crack on as quickly as possible. And I think everyone's done that now. I think going to games on two different buses. I mean, a lot of the time, guys obviously enjoy being in the bus together because it's one team sort of feeling. But now it's a bit different. I think everyone's just slowly just tries to focus more on the game than anything else. I think it really highlights the importance of our preparation and make sure we get ourselves mentally and physically correct. So any of these distractions or any of these sort of new norms aren't going to affect us on the field on game day. So look, it's been strange. Not having supporters at the grounds as well, I think, has been really difficult for everyone. You realise how much energy and drive it gives to the team when you are playing in a stadium full of supporters, home or away, to be honest. So yeah, it's been a bit strange, and I think going into this weekend we're going to have the opportunity to have some supporters back into the ground. So I'm hoping that's going to give us that extra 2-3% that we need to really kick on and get our season on the way.
Yeah, and I suppose it's easy to sort of look at the negatives that have come off the back of COVID, but I know certainly from being retired and being sort of in a normal job in the so-called sort of business world, there's actually a lot of positives to come out of it. And things like these sort of Zoom calls, Zoom meetings, have actually brought a new sort of dimension to meetings, saving time, saving travel, all that sort of thing. They're making, you can fit a lot more in your week. It's almost made you a little bit more efficient from my point of view. Is there any positives that have come out from your training schedule or your daily schedule or your weekly schedule? Are there any positives that have come out like that for you guys?
I
Go on,
suppose
Sam, you
everything,
look like.
I suppose everything's just a bit shorter and sharper. It's still training's still really intense, but like it's almost good that they have to be really efficient. There's no sort of waiting around. You're just in, you do it like you're training hard, but then you get a good amount of time away from the club too, which is also important. So I think that's probably the biggest benefit from it all.
Yeah, and I think you sort of touched on it before. I don't know if it was you, Josh, or you, Marlon, but mental health's been really sort of a big topic in the sort in general life, and obviously the effects that lockdowns and all this sort of COVID restrictions have had on people. How have you guys sort of dealt with your own mental health and that side of the game and that side of sort of personal life?
I think.
Yeah, Josh, you go.
There you go, mate. You were already well.
I think for mental health, I think I can only speak for myself in that sense. I think a routine was very important. As you know, we every week we have our schedules planned for us. We know when we're in the club. We know exactly what we're doing in every hour of every day, and we can kind of support our week and do whatever we need to do throughout that. But I think during the lockdown, it was important that I try to keep a structure to my day. So every day I'd make sure I do some form of exercise, trying to eat the right things, and just trying to go to bed at a reasonable time as well. So I think that was kind of important to sort of try to stick to what we'd be doing on a day-to-day week, rather than prolonging sleeping in bed or eating comfort food, feeling sluggish, not training as much. I think when you try to familiarize it and try to keep it as similar as possible as it would be on a training week, I think that really helps me in terms of keeping my body fit, keeping my mind fresh, and getting prepared for a return to rugby.
And has anyone, with sort of all this spare time, I know Josh, you were studying and recently passed your degree, so congratulations on that. But has anyone sort of took up any like that educational courses or took on any new hobbies, sorry, learning a musical instrument or someone? Has anyone done anything like that?
I've been learning guitar. Not very good at it, but I've been trying my best.
Now, how's that?
Attempted French lessons for a bit for that last hour. So
have you got the guitar behind you there? Could you give us a little?
It's not here. It's like,
surely you could.
He's in a flat, so it must be in close reach.
I can't do it.
But I guess like Yardi's saying there, it's really important to almost fill your day with not just rubbish, but with sort of things that you get some sort of satisfaction out of, or otherwise it's you can go pretty stir crazy, can't you?
Yeah, for me, I find myself walking a lot because, like Marlon said, like for me, exercise is massive. If I don't exercise, I just feel like lethargic, a little bit down. So living by myself here, I've gone from living with 3 rugby boys. It was easy to motivate myself, like to do stuff, but living alone here is like just sort of hit home a bit. So I just keep busy by going for walks. You can still get takeaway coffee, which is quite nice, and that's sort of keeping me pretty good.
And what about
I think as well, it gave an opportunity for you to think about what life would be like away from rugby as well. I found that quite useful, not having a day-to-day sort of routine and sort of training and playing. It was actually an opportunity to actually reflect and think of stuff that you'd want to do. I know a lot of guys like Josh was already planning ahead, something that I've been looking at over the last couple of years, planning ahead and seeing what your next 5 to 10 years will look like and transitioning from rugby into the real world. So I think that's something also that I really focused on a lot during lockdown, and I've got a few good ideas and a few good things lined up to really take up over the next year or so.
And I saw was it yesterday or maybe today your involvement with the charity in Manchester giving out clothes to the homeless and stuff. That must be something that gives you a lot of satisfaction.
No, it was really rewarding. It was just out of chance meeting meeting a young guy on the street who was pretty much looked a bit like me, to be honest. So yeah, just got chatting to him, and he kind of pointed out that he's only been homeless for 3 to 4 months, and he feels a bit ashamed. Obviously, just trying to get a bit of food and whatnot, and just discussing that, he's not from a poor background, he's from a pretty wealthy background, but circumstances at home are the reasons why he's out on the street. And he also mentioned Centrepoint, which is why I decided to team up with that charity. And I just thought it was an opportunity with COVID and everyone's sort of taking a big hit during this period of time, that it would be a good opportunity to use the support of the club and the platform that we are as professional rugby players to sort of make a difference to people in society. So it's something that really touched home at the time, and this is, for me, it's just a start of something that I'd like to create and build a bigger project and take it forward and see what we can do and take people in these sort of situations, off the street and a second chance at life.
Yeah, no, it was well done on that. It was really good to see, and good luck with it all moving forward. I guess just to sort of round that off, Josh, going back to you during COVID, have you extended your studies or done anything extra, or have you had enough of that and picked up any new hobbies?
I've definitely had enough of the studying. I think it was, I was actually the one positive of the lockdown was that I was looking had my dissertation to hand in for my MBA, and I was thinking actually I'm going to be struggling back in March and February. I was thinking I'm going to be struggling to get that in. So yeah, I had no excuses when we went to lockdown. So yeah, did all that, and then yeah, for me, like Marlon said, just looking at I think obviously, picking up quite a bad injury, like similar to probably to what Marlon had a couple of years ago, it also makes you think kind of what your plans are moving forward. So yeah, I want to stay involved in sports and the business side of sport moving forward. So yeah, just I've linked up with my local rugby club, Fylde, and trying to help them out commercially, and yeah, leaning on your expertise and what you do at Sale is yeah, so just try and picking up bits of work experience here and there now to thinking about the eventual retirement, which is hopefully still a good few years away now.
I think my sort of advice on that would be just to speak to as many people as you can, and obviously the match day isn't the usual match day at the minute, but the people that come to the games, especially those that are in the hospitality, etc. Just speak to people and build relationships. My door's always open, as you boys know. So if you ever want to pick my brains on anything like that, you're more than welcome. I think just to sort of keep moving this along, we'll start to have a little look at the rugby. Obviously, last season was a really disappointing end. Missing out through sort of COVID and all that testing situation was disappointing for everyone involved. Just to miss out on that top four when we were so close.
Really? Oh no.
Anyone?
Obviously, I only played a few games. I had a few niggles to start off with, and came from Exeter midway through. But obviously, it's gutting for everyone, because obviously the boys have been a long time. They played so well all year, and to go that far a year into the season and to miss out the way we did, it was just a massive kick in the teeth. So it was really, really gutting for everyone. But I think it's a good bit of motivation for us moving forward for this year, definitely.
And what about this season? The club's being talked up quite a lot in the press. Obviously Exeter are the sort of favourites for the league again, but I think Sale are being talked up as almost the only other challenger. So without sort of putting too much pressure on you boys, what's the thoughts sort of inside the camp? Have you set a target, a long-term target, or is it short-term, or what is it?
I think with the quality of players that we have in the squad, we're always going to be put into that bracket. I think last year, just to touch on last year a little bit, I think going into that last game, things could have been more into our own hands, in terms of there are probably a few games along the way that we should have and could have probably won. And I think if we had done that, then maybe that last game would have not have meant anything. We'd have still been in that top 4. So I think what we could learn from that is the importance of every game as we go throughout the season. So for instance, on the weekend we lost to Newcastle. It's a game that we should be winning. And we hope that as the season goes on, this is not going to be a result that we look back on and say if or what, if we had won this or not. So I think the importance is I take from it, and I think as a team we take for it, is the importance of us going out every game and performing to the best of our abilities, and actually going out and looking to win, because we know if we perform well and perform to the best of our abilities, we know we can beat anyone in the league on our day. So it's, like Hilly's come from a fantastic club who've built over the last 10 years from the Championship and built a really solid foundation. They're a really well drilled side. So we know Exeter are always going to be towards the top, and they're always going to be a tough side to beat. And we're probably still on that journey of kind of finding our feet and finding that consistency in performance. But I feel like we are slowly starting to find an identity in our play and how we want to play the game. And I think over the course of the year, with a good run of games, I think we can slowly start to get that consistency in performance that we're looking for, that we had just before the first lockdown in February, March, when we were really sort of ticking over. And I think that's what we're sort of searching for at the moment.
Yeah, and I guess, Exeter did it last season, but not many clubs do the double. It's a massive achievement, and for us, we're obviously in the Heineken Cup again, but we've not got a bad group. Josh, what's our sort of outlook, target, expectations on that?
Yeah, I think definitely. No, I don't think we've been in the Champions Cup for every other season, kind of over the last, since I've been at the club, the last 10 years or so. So and we've never qualified. So I think definitely this season we usually go into the Champions Cup the first couple of rounds after 6 Premiership games on the bounce, and it's always quite tough as when we've had a small playing squad. But going into the first 2 games, I think Toulon away will be a big test, and then Edinburgh at home. But we're probably a bit fresher than usual. So hopefully we can look at picking up those early points is crucial for our qualification. So I think we'll target it for those first 2 games, and hopefully that'll set us up nicely for kind of after Christmas, after the New Year, when we can hopefully do what we haven't done before and qualify for those knockout stages.
We've done it once before, mate. We've done it once before. I guess, as just sort of following on from that as well, you talk about having a bit more of a, you're a bit fresher going into those Heineken Cup games, but looking at the league across the full season and the fixture list, it's massively condensed, isn't it? There's no sort of fallow weeks, for want of a bit. There's no weeks off effectively. So what's the sort of mindset on that in terms of going into the season? We're only 2 weeks in, but I don't think there's probably not going to be a break. You've got back-to-back games pretty much all the way through to May. Does that change your mindset at all, or is it just a case of cracking on, Sam?
Yes, you sort of crack on, Nick. Just we've been given the schedule, and there's nothing we do about it. So boys will be they'll be keen to just get on with it, and I guess everyone will have to be ready, because it's going to be a big squad effort. Or probably every player in the squad will get some game time at some point. So it's good that we've got some depth in all positions.
And do you think, because as you said, Josh, a minute ago, we're slightly small in terms of the size of the squad generally compared to a lot of other Prem clubs. Do you reckon that'll have any effect?
Potentially, yeah. I think at the moment we've just picked up quite a few injuries over the last couple of weeks, and leading into the season. So it's probably going to get tested now more than ever. Our squad size, as you say, is slightly smaller than other clubs. So I think once we get a couple of guys back over the next few weeks, and then that'll really help our depth. And then it's all about building momentum. Then if you just find your form and just keep on ticking along like we were doing, just before the last lockdown of last season. I think February, March, we were pretty much unbeaten. So that's crucial, and just leave it to coaches, leave it to Dimes to kind of sort out how to manage our loads.
Yeah. Cool. Right, I think time. I think all there is for me is to just thank you on behalf of AJ Bell, on behalf of the club. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your honesty in those answers, and good luck, Josh, with getting fit from injury, and good luck to everyone for the rest of the season.
Cheers,
Great.
Hi, I'm Phil Sharma-Woodland. I'm the sports nutritionist at Sale Sharks.
We just wanted to know how it affected you on the nutrition front, really, and what sort of consequences of the pandemic you've had to deal with.
Yeah, I think initially the main consequence was we went straight into lockdown, and the lads had gone from having several meals at the club to now being totally self-sufficient, and that was quite difficult when shopping was particularly difficult at the time. There was a lack of certain foods, so that was one difficulty. We wanted to be able to give them plenty of varied recipes and some really easy tips on how they could still eat nutritional food under the lockdown circumstances.
Now, how were you able to keep on top of what the players were doing and eating whilst they're at home? Because I know a few of them will like a chocolate bar every now and then. So how do you keep a lid on what they're eating at home?
Well, obviously boredom can sometimes, for some people, mean that they want to eat poor quality snacks. So the immediate first thing was to try and give them some healthy alternatives, some easy swaps. Swap your Mars bar for a Naked bar, swap a pack of crisps for a pack of healthy popcorn, those sort of things. Also then trying to make sure the players understood that they have to match their energy intake for what the demands are of the day, which is a lot less when they're not actually playing, training at the rugby ground. So again, just reducing some of the carbohydrate and reducing some of the calories, so their actual intake is going to be appropriate for the amount of energy they're going to be expending.
And just for the people who aren't part of the professional environment, it's that time of year when the chocolate does come out and the winter warmers come out, the slow cookers in use and all that sort of stuff. What sort of tips would you give to the general public just to keep on top of their nutrition during lockdown and the winter? Yeah,
well, I think first of all, one of the things is actually hydration, believe it or not. In the summer, it's really important to be hydrated because it's very warm and you sweat a lot. But actually, in the winter as well, you still need to place as much focus on that because you tend to wear more layers, especially the lads out when they're training there. That's one thing they might not quite realise because it's quite cold outside, but they're sweating a lot. So you need to be hydrated. You also need to make sure that you continue to take in a normal sort of amount of carbohydrates. If you restrict that in particular, that's not very good for immunity. So one of the things about winter is immunity. You've also got the vitamin D levels, so the sun between October and March is quite low in the sky. It doesn't really give you the vitamin D that you need. So that's one thing that we recommend supplement-wise. We try and get the players to get most things from food, but unfortunately one thing that they can't really get and we have to supplement is vitamin D. We also encourage things like just a good intake of fruit and vegetables from all the different colours, because all the different colours provide all the different antioxidants, polyphenols, and vitamin C, all these various things that help with your immunity.
So, talking of keeping physically well during a lockdown, what small changes and quick wins can you recommend for the staff and the guys at AJ Bell to improve their physical health over the winter?
Okay, well, we've obviously heard it many times now under the situation with COVID about hand hygiene, wearing masks, etc. But even if we didn't have the COVID situation, every winter I'd always be saying to to the players and to anyone in the public just to try and keep your normal hand hygiene at a good level, because we want to prevent the spread of germs and diseases. And every day that you've got a cold or a sniffle or something, even if it's minor, it's a day that you're not training, and that's another day lost potentially.
And it's all good keeping physically well, but a lot of people are struggling with the mental health during the lockdown, being away from their friends, families, sat in the house on their own and stuff. Have you got any tips you can offer from the nutrition front for keeping your mind healthy?
Yeah, well, purely in terms of just nutritionally, there's a lot of benefit of having a good quality diet. When you're eating poor quality foods, that can make you feel lethargic. It's not the best for your brain. There's things like omega-3s and various other healthy fats that you would get in healthier options, which are important to keep your brain, at its healthiest. And even just things like cooking healthy meals and doing that activity prevents boredom, gives you a good feeling of self-worth, and gives you something to do that's productive with your time.
Rick, it's been a strange year, been lots of changes for everybody with the COVID pandemic. How have you managed to maintain team morale throughout the pandemic and lockdown?
Yeah, it's been pretty simple, straightforward for us really, in terms of like, we know what the job's about, we knew when we were playing again, we knew what we had to get out of the games. The players know they had a role to play in that, and from that point of view it was quite simple. We finished lockdown, so the first lockdown, we finished lockdown in a great position, and we were obviously going into a final, so we were like quite high on emotion. That obviously got taken away from us a little bit, but when we came back in, we had a long period of time where we could get the lads back to physical fitness and prepared to play. And to start with, we weren't going to just run them from A to B every time. We were going to make it fun, be inventive, make sure they're working on individual and team skills while also trying to get prepared for them games. So just making sure training wasn't monotonous and the same and long-winded. That played a massive part in it, giving them some involvement as well in terms of making it fun, making it very team-based stuff, competition-wise. And then obviously we had a final, we knew what we wanted to get out of them games, and then luckily we achieved to get to the final, and we achieved to play in the final and get the victory there. So morale was high after that. I think if you're at the bottom of the league and you're nothing to play for, then that's a little bit different. But for us, we knew we wanted to be, and we knew we wanted to go.
And you talked there about making training and just the day-to-day stuff as much as enjoyable as you could. How's COVID changed the sort of day-to-day regime?
Yeah, well, obviously we wanted to. We want to make sure we've got to abide by the rules that are set by the governing body. So we have to abide by those, understand those, and then see how we can implement those. So to start with, there's a lot of things like can't eat inside the building, wearing masks, and all the general stuff that the general public have to do day to day. From our side of things, we've got quite a lot of people in what is now a large building, but in a case of things, it's a small building for where everyone needs to be. So it's just separating them into certain groups. So meal times are smaller. There's not many people sat on a table. We're outside as much as possible, especially when it's sunny. Then that's great for us. Like the way the facility's been set up, like second to none compared to what we were in beforehand. So the day-to-day things like eating, we just separated lads, made sure they're in small groups. Same with training. If we don't have to all train together, we train at different times, so they're not all in the change. Well, we're the point we're allowed in the changing rooms. We're all allowed in the changing rooms together, and in the gym as well. Small groups in the gym, that helped us and helped the players get better coaching from us.
And how do you think the players in particular have adapted to the changes? Have any of them struggled with it? Has it been a struggle for coaches in terms of what you're doing?
No, I don't think so. Like, we have to adapt to different things all the time, and as long as you set guidelines straight away and they understand why we have to do these things, the players are adaptable. Like, they're professional athletes, so they understand why we're doing things. It's for the benefit of the team and benefit of the club, really. So there was no real issues in terms of having to adapt to what we need to do. There's some learning in terms of making sure you've always got your mask with you from going to place A to B, but apart from that, the lads in this for a short period of time. They know what they need to do while they're in here, and we set out the guidelines, and they just follow them to the best degree that they could.
And just on those changes, have any of them had benefits that you didn't envisage in the first place, or can you see anything sticking that maybe wasn't here pre-COVID?
A few things, yeah. I think the cleanliness of the building, like from every minute of the day, is probably one of the best things, because you've got a lot of lads outside in the field, in the gym. It's sweaty, it's dirty. Like, the building hygiene and the hygiene of players to help reduce colds and coughs and illnesses, that's massive. I think that's one of the things we'll probably make sure we carry on with. So hand sanitizer around every corner you walk around, and wiping down the gym equipment, things like that'll definitely stay in. Another thing would probably be from a player's perspective and a coach's perspective, is the small numbers in the gym helps us be able to sit. We obviously not got hundreds of staff members to sit on 50, 60 players, so the smaller groups allows them to have just a coach with 2 or 3 players at one time, and that allows them to get better coaching. and better understanding what we're trying to get out of them, whether that's in the gym or on the field. And then the third, probably the last one, and something that we probably follow anyway, something that Dimes has brought into it, and a massive thing that's in the paper, in the news at the minute, is on terms of like limiting contact within training. So the RFU obviously said, Premiership Rugby said you're only allowed to do so much contact within the training sessions. That's something we do anyway. Dan's a big believer on making sure that the lads are prepared enough and robust enough for the weekend, so they've done enough contact, but we're not absolutely killing them in training and injuring each other, that we've not got our best team out there. And that's one of the things that will carry on, but it's been in our makeup anyway. It's one of the big drivers that Dan's put in place, and that will continue.
And just finally, for people that don't know, you're head of sports science here at the club. Now, we don't know where the country's going. We're hopeful that we'll come out of what we now know as lockdown in the next few weeks. But have you got any tips for any of the guys at AJ Bell to just help them stay in peak mental and physical condition during, what we're still going through as lockdown?
Yeah, so for me, it's about consistency. Just being consistent in what you do every day. Waking up early, not staying up too late. So then when you get up in the morning before you go to work and getting, whether that's your early morning run, your gym session when the gym's open again, and just staying consistent as you can in that, and consistent in what you eat. Like, if you ever struggle and you think, oh, what can I eat? If you think of just foods that are naturally grown, then they're the right foods for you. Like that, if you're like, oh, could I have this, just think, is this natural? Does it come from the ground? If it comes from the ground, then it's going to be natural and good for you. So I just say consistency in what you do. Make sure you find something that is achievable for you to do and stick to. Don't try and think, oh, I'm going to run a marathon if it's nowhere near achievable. Make sure you start off small goals. If it is running you like 5k run, 10k run, and take your time building up there, and just make sure you enjoy what you do. Don't try and force it on yourself. You've got to enjoy it, but make sure it's early in the day before you start work if you can. If that means going to bed a little bit early, you go to bed a little bit earlier. And then on the mental side of things, from what our point of view, well, from what we've done anyway, I can only speak from our experience, is Johnny Lilt, who's works with us as more of a player liaison officer for the players. He's set up certain areas within different teams. So in our department, so in our high performance department, might have a member staff there, in the coaching staff, in the academy, and they've got a little like mental health group now where the players can go and talk to if they need to. They can talk to any of us, but they're trying to educate the coaches so they can understand that everything isn't always as simple as do this, do that, do this. People are different and situations put on them different, if that's team selection, if that's COVID, if that's struggles at home. So Johnny Lilt is doing a great job in educating certain individuals who then can educate the rest of us. And yeah, it's just about making sure that they can have an influence on a lot of the players through the age groups as well.